everybody, and welcome to the Mountain Mystic Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Hemphill, and I'm so happy to be here with you today as we hang out in conversation, practice, focused on our embodiment work, this work that, guys, I truly believe it's everything. I believe it's everything here in these wild, chaotic times, this work that has everything to do with how we stay grounded, or maybe find our grounding before we can even stay grounded. So finding our grounding, staying grounded in this wild, wild world we found ourselves in as we learn to stay centered, present, focused, grounded, present, centered, focused, these incredibly important skills that are needed during these wild times. These wild times where big things are happening. And I know it's scary. I know I'm scared over here, and in some moments letting myself really feel that fear because it's real. And as you know, we all know at this point, at least I think we all know, that when we act from fear, right, it's not the most skillful way we can act. So how can we act with more skill? How can we call upon discernment to know how to act? How can we stay grounded so that we are present and able to act with that skill? These are all the sorts of things, the skills. These are truly skills in this embodiment work that we are doing here on the Mountain Mystic Podcast and in anywhere I'm showing up these days. So once again, sincerely thanking you for being here. This work I'm doing now, having found myself here in this space, I really had no plan or intention or even thought of being here, probably because I didn't know it existed, But now that I found myself here, just really truly being in a space of this is what the world needs, right? Yes, this is about our own selves here. This is about our own selves as we learn to navigate this world, these crazy times for our own well-being. And so much more than this, this is about our worlds as a whole, our communities, our nation here, if you're here with me in the US, the earth as a whole, the ecosystems, the forests, the coral reefs, everything, right? Life on planet Earth right now is deeply hurting, and it has been for a long time. And it's this pattern that's just been going on and on and on for far too long, right? This narrative that lays the foundation for what we believe and how we feel and how we act, right? The whole human experience, which then, tends to dictate the experience of life as a whole on planet Earth. This narrative that's been going on for too long that has everything to do with the individual, of taking what you believe is rightfully yours, of taking from others, of pushing down others, of taking resources in excess and all the things that are power over, so that we, our own individual selves, or those that we've decided are us and not them, that we, get what we think we want and what we think will make us happy. And it's plain to see it is so goddamn plain to see right now. So if you don't see it, open your eyes, feel into your heart, listen, because it is so plain to see right now that this way of being on planet Earth is so destructive. And it's not only destructive from those that we take from, right? It's not just destructive to other people and ecosystems and the planet, but it's actually quite destructive to our own selves. When we live life in this way, just feeding our egoic wants, taking from others, dividing ourselves from what we, want to get ahead of or be better than. I talk about this a lot, and it's not a rabbit hole I'm going to go down in depth right now, but the harm it does to our own selves, because what it does is strip us away from a fundamental truth. It's, I see it as a biological truth. I see it as a spiritual truth that we are connected in ways that go so far beyond what our little minds will ever even begin to comprehend. The complexity of who we are and the ways we are all connected. It's just so vast. And yes, our heads can come online and try to understand it. I spent part of my life as a neuroscientist and biomedical engineer. I was hell-bent on understanding the mechanisms and all the pathways tying it all together. And it was a valiant effort. I understood a lot. But it's just the beginning. And part of why I ended up in this embodiment work is this realization that our heads, our minds, we're never going to be able to comprehend all the pathways, the intricate, interwoven, complex pathways that connect life, that connect us together, that connect us to the ecosystems we are part of, that just make up a single individual, and then connect outward to, the food you eat, the plants in your house, in your backyard, right? The cars driving by, right? We're all connected in a way that's so far beyond the mind. And as I've learned, again, kind of what brought me here is realizing there has to be a better way. Right? I was taught that I had to understand the world using my head. And when that got too complicated, to call upon computers. And, those methods, they definitely, have power and can bring forth some pretty incredible things into this world. But when we live life fully in this mind over matter, this, the mind up on a pedestal right there next to computers, we lose something. We lose something which, from where I stand, I now believe this something is everything. It is absolutely the key to what we need to heal this world, to heal our own mental, emotional, physical health challenges, to heal the rifts in our communities, to heal the extreme harm we've caused to our ecosystems. And this key, right, this main idea, practice, phenomenon, experience, whatever word we want to put to it, has everything to do with the recognition that we as human beings are embodied. We are human beings. We have and are these incredible human bodies, and we've been taught to live in this world, this mind over matter world where, following this narrative, the body just becomes a nuisance, right? We get sick and it's a nuisance, or, We have to eat and it's a nuisance. Like, we have to take care of these bodies while, really we should be off doing the oh so important work up in our minds and with our computers. And it's fucked up. And it's destroying our own bodies physically, mentally, emotionally. It's destroying our communities, the health of our planet, because when we separate from self, we separate from the very being, the very body that we are. That is what connects us to the world we are all part of, right? As bodies, we are these powerful, sensing, intelligent beings. So when we are fully embodied, when we're connected, when we're listening, feeling, sensing, we are in connection to the world we are all part of. Our bodies are designed to sense, to feel, and through this to bring forth the information that is needed for everything in life. But when we go through life with these narratives, and maybe you heard the narrative growing up in a church, or maybe you heard this narrative in school or at work. I say this a lot, but this is one I learned very powerfully as a scientist and engineer. This: don't trust your body, right? Don't listen to your body. When you start to feel that's weakness or that's unskillful, so you have to learn to push it away. And when that happens, we lose out on all the information that we are designed to take in. We sever ourselves from life. When you can't feel, when you can't sense, when you can't be in tune with the sensations in your body, your feelings, your emotions, your intuitions, you are severing yourself from the world that you are a part of. And yeah, you can still take in information. You have eyes to see, you have ears to hear. But this is just one tiny sliver of what you as a human being, what you as a human body are designed to take in. So no wonder our world is so disconnected and hurting each other and unable to make any sort of skillful decision that actually leads us towards where we need to go, because we're cut off from reality. And we're just seeing the world and perceiving the world and knowing the world through this tiny slice of what we are supposed to be connected into. So sitting here, it's, no wonder. No wonder the world is what it is, because we have cut ourselves off from reality. And cutting ourselves off from our bodies, we have cut ourselves off from reality. And we are only living life through this tiny slice of what we were meant to be living through. So, of course, that's not the whole picture, right? That's not the whole picture. And I'm going to move into more of the picture here. As always, this happens every time, you guys. I sit down to say one thing and then I'm saying another thing. So the podcast I sat down to record for you, one fully focused on grounding and what that means, and a podcast that promises a lot of practice and in-depth, nuanced conversation on what grounding actually means. Also a podcast where I get to talk about my trip to the Redwoods. Oh my gosh, which was amazing. I guess I'm holding off on that one for the meantime. Until then, what I want to do with our time today here, because I came to you with a lot already, right? This is a lot. So what I'm going to do is actually probably leave this one as a shorter episode, which, if you're listening to this, you've already seen that this is a short episode. So I want to leave us here, not closing down things yet, but leaving the kind of slinging a lot of words at you part, and invite you into your own body. Invite you to find your feet on the floor, seat in the chair. Breathe down into your body. I've brought you a lot of words, a lot of fire on this. Like, can we please do the work that needs to be done to reconnect with self, to be able to be present with self in a way that allows us to be present with the world? Because, again, from where I stand, it is the thing that matters most right now. And we got a long list of things we need to do. But if we can't do this, if we can't recognize our humanity, if we can't recognize our humanness, the fact that we are human beings living and breathing as human bodies, how are we going to go anywhere? So an invitation here, feel your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair. Just feel into the ground beneath you, the surface that's holding you here. And through this connection, the ground, the earth beneath you, recognizing yourself present here in this moment on the ground you're seated on or standing on. And from this place, breathing into self, breathing down into self, breathing down into your body, into your chest, into your belly, maybe all the way down into your root. Just breathing with me here for a moment. Breathing with me, but breathing as self. Breathing as the body, as the whole being that you are. And knowing that I cue you to breathe, right? This simple act, because your breath is this powerful guide and path into self. Through your breath, you can feel into the sensations, right? Your rib cage expanding on the inhale, the release in your shoulders or your back or anywhere else as you exhale. Through your breath, you get to explore self. Through breath, you also get to slow down time. I say this all the time. I feel like I can't say it enough. So much of what's happening in our wiring and our programming today is we're caught up on this wheel, right? We're just in this trance where we're just taken from one thing to the next, racing through life. With this programming, with this narrative, it's like a badge of honor to how much can we race through in the day? How much can we check off? I did this and I did that and I did that and that and I still have to do that and that and that. And exhale on that one. As we're racing through life, we're caught up in the world around us. And when we're caught up in the world around us, we're not acting skillfully. We're not in tune with what's happening and discerning from there. We're certainly not grounded. And with your breath, breathing down into your body, slowing those breaths, deepening those breaths, you can start to slow down your pace. And as you slow down your pace, you can really start to detach from that wheel that is designed from those, who are in power and want to keep us unskillful, want to keep us from waking up because, it serves them if we're just out here exhausted in producing. But as we slow down our breath, we become present. We feel as self. And so feeling into self, and as you're feeling into self, you can recognize that you are feeling as self. You are becoming embodied, right? Present and felt connection in and as your body, as your whole being. So I bring you into this little practice, but I'm going to say it again. I believe it to be the most powerful practice, and a practice that, God, if every single human being could be doing it right now, we would be transforming this world at a much faster rate. A practice that, as I see it, is a powerful path into doing the very thing I've been talking to you today about. Feeling into self, because as we feel, as we sense, as we are present in and as and with self, this is how we become present with the world we are all part of. This is how we become present in a way that is skillful, in a way that allows us to know what needs to be known, in a way that allows us to discern truth from bullshit. We all know, right? God, this era, especially with AI, guys, we've already been living in a world where lies and propaganda and just bullshit can be spread so easily. And that's just going to be getting louder and louder. And your ability to discern truth from bullshit, God, that's so important. So as we learn to sense and feel and be present with self, in self, as self, we get to learn to discern as well. That's a whole topic for another time. And it's all here on this embodiment path. It's all here on this embodiment path, the path where we get to become more skillful with our way of being. So where I want to take us here now, and I think this is going to start to close things for today. It's leading us into that next episode, the one I had planned on sitting down and recording for you. I want to do a deep dive into grounding, what that means. And in that episode, I'm gonna leave most of it for that next upcoming episode. So maybe it's out already by the time you're listening to this. If not, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're on the newsletter so you get it when it comes out. But I want to bring this to grounding, right? This ability, right? And we did this in the practice just a little bit. Right? This feeling your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair, breathing deeply down into self. Feeling yourself, knowing yourself here and now. I am here on this ground at this point in space of time. At this point in space and time. And I know that I am here and now at this point in space and time. I'm grounded. I'm connected to the ground beneath me. And I'm connected to my own root in connection to the ground beneath me. So notice the both and here, right? Notice the both and, the connected with the ground, the earth beneath you, connected into self in a way where you know, right? You hold this knowing, I am here, I am now. And notice how different this feels from, what I would call the normal modern programming that's that racing from one thing to the next, like stuck up in your head, like, okay, I'm here doing this thing, which, takes, all my scattered attention. But meanwhile, I'm also in the future planning out and stressing over the rest of the day. So like I'm here, but I'm not really here. And I'm also already in the future. Oh, and also there's all this anxiety pulsing through me, and it's creating this sensation in my body where I don't even know where I am or how I feel. And it's just, you get what I mean, you guys? This is how most of us live. This is how our modern humanity lives. And then again, taking a few breaths, breathing down into self, feeling your feet beneath you, your seat in the chair, your feet on the floor, whatever's relevant to you. Breathing deeply into self. I'm here present on this ground, breathing as this body, as this whole being, here in this moment. Just letting us breathe here, a few deep breaths, grounding into this moment. So when I talk about embodiment work, right, I'm talking about being present in felt connection in your body, as the whole self, the whole being that you are. And what this, shall we say, sort of requires is a feeling of groundedness. But grounding isn't the only thing, right? Here on this embodiment path, we're also learning discernment, aligned action. We're learning how to take in information in a skillful way to make sense of it, to discern truth from bullshit, to decide where best can your energy and attention serve, right? All these things in this embodiment playground. But it really all begins with grounding, and that's why we're going to go into this fuller deep dive in the next episode. I also have the Deep Roots guided meditation that you can get for free at Upward Slopes /Deep Roots. You can also get a 4-part guided meditation series to help you ground more deeply into self, into this greater world we are all part of, planet Earth. So you can find that all down in the notes. So let's bring today's episode to a close, keeping us closer to that 30-minute mark for today. Again, expecting that longer episode on grounding up next. Just taking a moment to here, kind of letting everything settle. And I've thrown a lot of different things your way today, but I want to bring us home with some words around embodiment, being present in and as your body, as your whole being, in felt present connection to self, as this path of more skillful connection to the world we are all part of, a world that we all know sure needs a lot of help right now. And there's a lot of ways that we can all show up to help. And however you are, from the small, seemingly small things we do. I like to talk about just the way you are when you walk into a room, the smile you offer a stranger, the conversation you offer a friend, right? The seemingly small things they matter, and sometimes they matter just as much as those big ideas to transform the world, and however you're showing up in the world. I need you to be able to show up in the world. I need you with your feet on the earth, grounded, connected, moving with skill, resting, nourishing self, so that you are taken care of and so that you can show up in the world and keep us all healing and moving forward. And there's all these different ways that we can speak to the embodiment path. And we'll talk more grounding next time. Here today, turns out, first we needed to talk a little bit more about embodiment in general, about, taking the mind off the pedestal, not throwing it away. We need your mind. We need you thinking. We need you making logical, analytical decisions, making those calculations, right? It's a complicated world out there. I need your brain on board. But I don't want your brain disconnected from your body. I want that brain of yours, that beautiful mind that you have, in connection to all the intelligent parts of self. All of your senses, all of your feeling, your emotion, your intuition. It's all so important. It's all so important. And as you walk this path, that is becoming ever more fully embodied, knowing it is a path of developing skills just as much as it is a path of healing your own stuff, right? There's a reason why this work isn't easy, why, people don't just dive headfirst into it, because it's a path, it's a process, and it's largely a healing path. It's largely a healing process, right? Healing our own wounds, our own blocks that keep us out of this way of being. So we're all here on this wild journey, right? Doing our best to show up for the world we are all part of, through our families, our friends, our communities, our ecosystems, just as much as we're showing up for ourselves here. And this is the journey, and this is the beauty of it all. What a wild playground, this human experience, don't you think? And what a wild time. What a wild time we are in, you guys. I think, I can pretty confidently say, I know it's hit us all at this point, that these are big times. And we've been called in to show up during these wild times, and it's big. It really, truly is big. So I need you guys. I need you guys standing, head atop of your shoulders, walking with me, moving, breathing with me. You over there, embodied, connected into self, which is a path, a process that you yourself are on, that you are working through, healing from. Whatever words we want to use to throw in there. Just as I'm doing the same over here. And as we walk our own individual paths, we get to know that really we are walking one big path together. This wild world we are all part of. Alrighty, guys, gonna close down here. Thank you so much for listening. If you're getting something out of this, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button or leave a review if you're over on a podcast platforms. Leave a comment if you're listening on YouTube. Share with a friend. Help me grow this platform so that more of us can come together. so that we can be in conversation, so that I know you're over there listening. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear, what are you getting out of this? What is really serving you? What do you want to hear more of? What do you want to go into more depth on? Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Big love. It's a wild world out there. Stay safe. Keep yourself nourished. Keep yourself grounded. Except for those moments where, maybe you just need to let your feet come out from under you and let yourself burn away in a pit of whatever it is that needs to burn, so that you can rise up again in the next moment. That's something we'll talk a little bit more about in depth in our next episode on grounding. How we stay grounded for the long term, which sometimes means letting ourselves become ungrounded so that we can just let go, be swept away in all of it in a way that serves. Oh, this path is wild, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on it, and I look forward to catching you next time.